Most of you have probably heard of topic sentences before. Traditionally, they're taught as the opening sentence of a body paragraph in an essay that states the topic of the paragraph. But there's a lot more to topic sentences than just that. So, what is a topic sentence exactly? Similar to a thesis statement, which is the foundation of your essay, the topic sentence is the foundation of a paragraph. It should do more than just announce the subject that you're going to be writing about in that paragraph. Ideally, it should convey an important message about that subject matter to your audience. Or, in other words, it needs to communicate your purpose for writing and how that paragraph connects to and supports your thesis statement. Basically, it's like a mini thesis statement. It does for the paragraph what the thesis statement does for the whole essay. Another way to think about it is a concise summary of a paragraph. For those of you who may think more in formulas, a topic sentence would contain the following parts in order to be highly effective. It needs a transition. This will help link between the thesis and the supporting point that is identified in the topic sentence. It also helps move from one point in the previous paragraph to the point of the current paragraph. It does need to identify the subject or the topic that is going to be addressed in that paragraph, and also a point about that subject, the writer's opinion about that subject, or the reason why that particular topic supports the thesis. Finally, a good topic sentence also needs to have a clear link to the thesis, and this is typically accomplished through the repetition of keywords from the thesis statement. When we think about the point component of a topic sentence, what does that really refer to? The point of the topic sentence must directly support the point and or the reason component of the thesis statement. The topic sentence should contain only one point. The point should be worded specifically, not in vague or general language. The point should not be too broad or too narrow. And the topic sentence as a whole should be an assertive statement. Where should the topic sentences go in the essay or in the paragraph that they appear in? Traditionally, the topic sentence is the first sentence of a body paragraph. However, sometimes it can be the second sentence of a body paragraph if it is preceded by a transitional sentence. In this case, the topic sentence itself may not have a transition word or phrase at the beginning. The topic sentence can also be placed at the end of a body paragraph. In this case, the writer would be building up to the revelation of the point at the end of the paragraph. In the real world, writers put the topic sentences where they make the most sense. That might be at the beginning or end of a paragraph, but it might also be somewhere in the middle. Ultimately, if you are writing for a class, your teachers may have specific expectations of where a topic sentence should go. So, in these situations, you should really probably just put your topic sentence where the teacher expects it to be. Let's do a little bit of practice with identifying components of quality topic sentences based on the criteria that we've just covered. So in this sample essay, the thesis statement is college students should live at home with parents in order to avoid the distractions of dorm life. So let's review to make sure that this thesis statement actually does cover all of its bases before we start looking at topic sentences that support it. Remember, a good thesis statement should identify the topic of the essay, present the author's point or opinion about that subject, and then offer a reason why that topic is important to the target audience. So this thesis statement does have a subject, living at home. The point or opinion is that college students should do that. And the reason that this author provides why this is important to the target audience is it will help students avoid distractions of dorm life. So it does meet all of our criteria. So this is a solid thesis statement. Okay, so the author of this essay came up with these points during brainstorming to support the thesis statement. The first supporting point was not having to share a room with anyone. The second point was to help students stay focused. And the third supporting point is that there wouldn't be the temptations of college parties. Okay, so these are the reasons why the writer thinks that college students should live at home. But notice that they're just sort of worded as short phrases. These aren't articulated in complete sentences yet. So the author needed to articulate these ideas as topic sentences that could be added into the actual essay. And this was the writer's first attempt. So topic sentence number 1, you won't have to share a room with anyone. Topic sentence number 2, it's hard to stay focused when you're living on your own for the first time. And topic sentence number 3, you won't be tempted by college parties if you live at home. So the author has taken his 3 supporting points and articulated them as complete sentences. Let's take a look at whether or not these statements are meeting the criteria of a quality topic sentence, and if not, how they could be revised to meet all of those criteria. So let's start with the first one. So this would be the topic sentence for the first body paragraph. You won't have to share a room with anyone. So remember all of our criteria for a quality topic sentence. There needs to be a transition, a subject or a topic for the paragraph, a point about that topic, and clear links to the thesis statement. There is a subject here. Not having to share a room is the topic that this paragraph is trying to address, but it doesn't really go any further than that. So the student revised it to help better meet all of those criteria. So let's see now if it meets the other criteria here. We do start with a transition, all right? One distraction. We have kind of a transition word here, one, and then a repeated word from the key words in the thesis statement. We do have subject is still sharing a room with another person. And the point is that this distraction can be avoided, right? That's the author's opinion about this and sort of the reason why he thinks that the author should care about it. And we do also have key words repeated from the thesis statement that give us a clear link to how this idea relates to the thesis. We have the repetition of the word distraction. Dorm life, also repeated keywords from the thesis statement, college students, keeping our focus on our target audience there. And then living at home, which is kind of the core point of the thesis statement, what the author hopes to achieve, right, is that college students will make this choice. Also repeated there. So very strong links to the thesis statement now in this revised topic sentence. This is much better. And the same thing with the second body paragraph and the second topic sentence. So the original version was, it's hard to stay focused when you're living on your own for the first time. This, again, doesn't really meet all of our criteria, right? Living on your own for the first time is the specific subject that this particular paragraph is going to address. It does have a point also. The author is saying it's hard to stay focused. But we really don't have a transition or strong links to the thesis. There are a couple of ideas, live at home, living on your own, but we don't have any repetition of the core ideas from the thesis statement. So this author revised his second topic sentence as well. So we start with a transition, another distraction, right? So we have our transition word and a repetition of the topic from our thesis statement, distraction of dorm life. College students, again, reminding us of the target audience. Living at home, right? Reminder of the core idea that the thesis statement is trying to convince the audience of. So we get the transition, we get the subject of the paragraph, the lack of structure, we get the point, the author's opinion, right? That this is another distraction that can be avoided by living at home, and those key words repeated from the thesis statement. All right, and then the third body paragraph, third topic sentence. You won't be tempted by college parties if you live at home. This was the original draft of the third topic sentence. And we do have the topic, right? College parties, at least being tempted by them. That's the topic that this paragraph is going to address. There is also a point that you can avoid being tempted by those if you live at home. But again, we don't have a transition or clear links to the thesis statement. We do have this one at the end, live at home, so that's positive. But that's about it. And distractions is kind of the key idea here of the three topics that are being presented in the topic sentences. So we do need to get a little bit stronger links to the thesis statement in here. So let's look at the revision. Most importantly, so again, we start with a transition phrase in the revised topic sentence is much better. College students can avoid the dangerous distraction of college parties if they live at home instead of in a dorm. So again, the most important key ideas from the thesis statement are repeated. Our audience, college students, the opinion, right, avoiding distraction, and then the idea of living at home, which is what the author hopes to convey to the audience and convince them of. So the topic, right, of this particular body paragraph is avoiding the distraction of college parties. The point is that you can do that if you live at home, and we've already kind of gone over the links to the thesis statement. All right, so this is just kind of an outline of the essay as a whole. The original three topic sentences and the revisions of those three statements. So you can see that they're much more developed in the revised versions than they are in the original drafts, and more clearly linked to the thesis statement. Now, some students think it's a little overly repetitive to have those keywords from the thesis statement repeated in each of the topic sentences. But remember, when your essay is developed as a whole, there's going to be a lot of text separating the appearance of each of these sentences from the next one. As you develop your body paragraphs into very full, well-developed, lengthy paragraphs, maybe even multiple paragraphs developing the same idea, that repetition will not seem as monotonous as it does when it appears strictly in outline form.